Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the one-to-one series here at the Super Yacht Group, part of our Super Yacht Forum live program. Martin Redmayne here in this wonderful sunny London, and I'm talking to Engel de Boer, who's over in Holland. And what's the weather like, Engel?
Yeah, I wish it was as sunny as it is at your place. It's very grey. Apparently, something to do with the Sahara Desert in the middle of the winter.
Oh, really?
Yes, Sahara sand.
Okay, one of those dust clouds.
Yeah,
Dust.
very
So,
strange.
so Engel, you're the head of the yacht segment in Lloyd's Register. You've seen it all across the years. The plan is to have let's call it a one-to-one under the title of a class act. And
Sure.
what I mean by that is the word class comes into this whole thing of lessons that we learn from the marketplace. So if I said to you, what are the most important things that the market hasn't learned in the last few years, what would you highlight as being the things we haven't learned?
Good question. The first thing I suppose which really springs to mind is that there is a terrible need to work a lot more cohesively together.
Yeah.
The market is fragmented. During each Global Super Yacht Forum sessions, we talk about it. We all talk about it, including yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, for one reason or another, it's still, in my opinion, it's still quite, unstructured. At times, unfortunately, resulting in some unprofessional behavior, and that is definitely not to the benefit of the end clients, whether that's the owners or the charterers of the yachts, and that, I find disappointing and worrying at the same time.
Do you have any feeling or reason behind this that you can sort of put your finger on, Engel?
Perhaps in a way, it's a little bit the nature of the market, whereby you sort of yachts, the sheer fact that they move around a lot and go to all sorts of different places, and thereby at times are forced to rely on individuals instead of group of companies or larger groups. Now you might think that is very similar to the commercial sort of cargo transporting world of ships. But they tend to have a more structured approach and better organized in all parts of in all corners of the world, really.
Yeah.
And that's something which is missing a bit.
It's an interesting topic because I think that's one thing that, as you say, has been discussed over many years in Amsterdam. This idea of collaboration, cohesive industry partnerships, and I feel that, and I've probably had lots of conversations like this over the years. We waste a lot of time and effort by not working together. We waste a lot of money by not working closer together on project planning and also the whole sort of operational side of a yacht. So how do you think, okay, let's put it in a really nice sort of picture here.
Yeah.
From a Lloyd's perspective, what role could Lloyd's play in improving that ecosystem?
I don't know. It's a difficult one. On one hand, of course, we have the benefit of being a global company, situated across the globe in various offices, which fortunately results in quite some consistency. Although there's a lot of debate about consistency, of course, within the yacht industry and the application of surveyors and the interpretation of surveyors. But generally speaking, we do have one consistent approach, and that is something which, potentially we could either guide others on or work with them globally to make sure that there is more a consistent approach for everyone. And whether that is in relation to the technical sides, whether that's in relation to the management of the crew. Of course, nowadays, it's a changing world. Everybody knows it. It's a world of increasing complexity. We're overloaded with data. But also, I believe we're being overloaded with opinions, and I'm giving another one here today. And as you know, fundamentally, our main purpose is to improve safety and increase performance where possible. And I think it is in that increasing world of complexity, overloaded with data, that we need to work together and see whether we can get some, more consistency. And yes, we open to work with each other instead of against each other. And if that also means that might sound a bit harsh to some of the companies within the industry. If that means also squeezing out some of the companies which we rather not see, then so be it. It's for the benefit of it really is for the benefit of the industry.
Yeah, I think in many cases, this is where we have to sort of look at the next 10 years and say, okay, how do we improve and clean up and almost optimize our business plan as a whole ecosystem by, as you say earlier on, improving consistency? Because I hear from lots of project managers, owners, reps, captains in shipyards about mistakes that are repeated from one project to the next because the communication or the lessons learned aren't there. And I feel, to me, we've always talked about things like sharing information and sharing knowledge. So is that something Lloyd's could be better at in terms of a longer term partnership with the industry to stop making the same mistakes? Or when I'm talking blue sky here, whether the surveyors can share examples better where things have gone wrong or things are working well, because to me that's what I've seen situations where yards have had to repair or sort of rework a problem at huge expense because they haven't listened to someone's advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, particularly with the onslaught at the moment of digitalization, we have the ability to share information more readily.
Yeah.
And in fact, you're being forced to. You can't hide anymore unless you have tremendous firewalls and very good cybersecurity. Talk about it if you want to. And that is something which yes, of course, there is a need also for us to be more open about these kind of things. Like I said, we're in the business of reducing risk, and the best way to reduce risk is to share experiences.
Yeah.
It is not just about keep on implementing regulations. Definitely not. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have more regulations. It also, amongst other things, means, and that's something I gave a presentation on during one of your global super yacht forums in Amsterdam, that more focus should be on the human factor. The integration of the human factor within the very complex, sophisticated systems of autonomy and automation. If we don't look into those aspects as well, errors will continue to happen. And then however open we are, we're never going to get a significant improvement. But yes, I do believe there is a need also for us to be, I wouldn't say more open. I hope at least that the majority of surveyors are open enough, but perhaps to share a platform whereby this information can be found and used.
Yeah. No, I think there's lots of conversations happening about, can we create crowdsourced information or knowledge transfer centers where people are able to help each other improve or optimize the project or the operation, because we've just seen various incidents and accidents over the year happen through fires or through collisions, etc. That really does come into the human factor. And I remember talking to Brendan O'Shannessy at the very beginning of this one-to-one series about fatigue. Fatigue is a big problem, but also the manning requirements of yachts, in terms of when you say a large yacht has a huge complement of crew, but the demands of that crew can suddenly be very, very highly optimized or at stress levels.
Yeah.
And it depends on how the boat is built and integrated and set up. So you can really see how we can still improve. We can still get better at every level of our industry. And I think my personal view is that organizations like the Flag Authority or Flag Administrations and the class societies should be part of that sort of, I say, improvement, continuous improvement of our projects and our operational side, because you have all these nuts and bolts and knowledge that would really help everyone.
Yeah, it's true, absolutely. But you have to do it in cooperation with. You have to do it in cooperation with the shipyards. You have to do it in cooperation with the design companies. You have to do it in cooperation with the captains and the crews, who I respect tremendously. Particularly the captains. The work, the effort they have to put into running such a complex project whilst keeping clients satisfied.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of opportunity now, looking at the future. The way technology is accelerating. I'm pretty sure that there is a way whereby through digitalization, whether it's through digital twins, for example,
Yeah.
that we're able to assist owners, managers, captains to introduce condition-based, risk-based, predictive maintenance,
Yes.
and make things easier and preventing accidents from happening. And whilst you're on the topic of accidents and incidents, just a little safety alert, and it's something which we will issue shortly as well. That has to do with the use of electric or hybrid toys. We're seeing more and more of these being used on board of the yachts. Joe, the deckhand, gets told to go and buy one, fit it on board, play around with it. The guest gets to use it, gets stowed on board with it, plugged into a socket somewhere, and left there with lithium-ion batteries, which have already resulted in numerous fires.
Yeah.
And the safety alert I really want to issue here is, guys, please be careful, read the manuals properly, and make sure there's an appropriate storage for your hybrid toys. They're increasingly available at lower costs.
Yeah.
But you have to store them safely. We're seeing too many incidents happening.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's an interesting subject, because obviously what we're all looking at is getting less fossil fuel activity on board, and these new clean systems and clean technologies.
Fantastic.
It comes with a risk. It comes with a new way of thinking and a new way of operating. And I think that's another part of it. Is it, in your opinion, should the crew and operators of the boats that are taking these things on board almost get some new type of training and development? Because it's not necessarily in the current curricula. So I'm trying to look at what could become part of a new focus of education related to this technology that's coming on board.
I love playing football with you, Martin. You give the perfect passes, and I'll just have to head them in. But yes, of course. I mean, we see that definitely happening. More and more yachts are now of the hybrid type. Which is why we've introduced this hybrid power notation.
Yeah.
And more and more are using batteries, either to be able to sail on propulsion or for peak shaving, but also exciting projects involving hydrogen, methanol, and other fuels, even to the extent of molten salt reactors. Fantastic new developments,
Wow.
which really excites me. I think when looking at the future, that really gets me going. But it requires a different approach from those on board. And I keep on telling everyone, if you're involved with an alternative propulsion, if you're involved with anything which is alternative and different to the rules and regulations, and different to what the crew has been trained to do, please get them involved at an early stage. Even get them involved when we do the risk assessments or the explanations of the systems, the hazards. There's a need to have the crews appropriately trained, being able to address and assess the risks with this new novel technologies, new toys, etc., etc.
Yeah. No, it's also interesting, because I think there's a whole, let's say, next generation thinking now happening quite quickly in terms of the hybrid and the new technologies, new propulsion, the green, and let's say the energy efficiency type thinking.
It's funny how. Sorry, Martin. It's funny how that we all talk about. We all get excited about hydrogen. We all get excited about methanol. We all get excited by thorium, molten salt reactors, you name it. Yet, of course, the best solution, of course, is just let's go sailing.
No, I think I'm coming into that in a second, because I really think that's a very interesting subject to explore, and I want to sort of get the Lloyd's perspective on the sailboat world. But let's put this topic of energy efficiency, sustainability, new technologies, hybrid, etc. One of the things that does concern me is that the market is still not converting or looking at transferring their specs and their plans for the future almost 100% removing diesel, removing fossil fuel. And I feel what we've got a chance to do, and this is part of our next gen thinking, is to actually go 100% green, clean, and hybrid, because it's all there, But I
Yeah.
just feel there's almost a reticence to make the dramatic shift because we like we like that safety of what's happened before.
Yeah, yes, but don't forget, of course, investing in novel technologies or applying them comes at a significant cost.
Yeah.
And with a certain risk, perhaps not being entirely sure whether or not it will be as useful as we might think it is. But fortunately, there are some owners who are willing to invest into these zero emission yachts, sometimes with small steps. But some of them are now seriously looking at yachts being able to really be carbon neutral. And not carbon neutral by offsetting it, buying carbon somewhere else and then offsetting it. No, actually working on projects which we're reviewing with them or assisting them with, making them zero carbon. It's a big challenge. Of course, it's a big challenge. We all know the demands, the electrical demands being put on yachts. But then again, there's so many clever brains and so many great technologies out there which can be used.
Yeah, including wind.
Including wind, of course. Yeah. The thing is, you do need to look at the overall picture. When you look at the environmental footprint of a yacht, are we only just looking at the operational aspects, or are we looking at the through life aspect? It's a bit like the Tesla. Sorry to mention the name. We can say they're fantastic, and they are, of course, a great assistance in reducing the carbon footprint. But if you look at the entire picture, questions could be asked.
Yes. Another question I wanted to throw at you in terms of the refit market. That's another big sector that's growing and will continue to grow because of the fleet trajectory.
Yeah.
What can we improve there? Because I think that's another area of the market that can be maturing or evolving to almost a new professional level. It's already moved a long way forward in the last 10 years, but I still think there's more to go. There's still a lot. Going back to your life cycle management and this whole topic of how do we make sure that the boats are consistent, let's say, through their lifestyle?
Yeah, there's a lot of ad hoc refits happening. Some of them at the last minute, of course, can happen. But I think with a lot more careful planning and a lot more thoughtful approach, you would, and again, it comes back to a level of professionalization of the industry. If I see some of the outfits where refits are happening in a sometimes a little bit uncoordinated approach, with lots of different sub-suppliers being involved. One for the electrical, one for the the luxury outfitting, one for the refrigeration system, one for the engine, etc., etc. And then there is no real clear coordination around the entire process of the refit itself. Not sure whether that is the most efficient and will result to in the best effect you want to have for the yacht. I think that can be streamlined. I'm always convinced that by taking out a lot of the how can I call it, a lot of the discussions, a lot of the errors, a lot of the misunderstandings, you will save up to 30%. 30% in cost, 30% in time.
Yes.
And it's the same valid for us.
Do you think Klaas can play a new role in that sector? In terms of planning and organization and even the predictive element of the sort of the refit work or the upgrade work or the maintenance work?
Yeah, we do believe we can, actually, yes. We think there is a scope for us to sit down with the companies who are involved with the refits, to see whether we can work on a sort of a standard program. At least which steps do you have to go through anyway, regardless of all the exceptions and the and the special refits you have to carry out, or the particular equipment you want to install, the luxury equipment you want to install. There is a particular process you have to go through, and as soon as everybody understands that better, and everybody knows how to take a certain approach in order to stay within the time limit and in order to ensure that we keep the final clients happy. What needs to be shown, what needs to be reviewed, what needs to be tested from our perspective, but also from a flag perspective, of course. A better control, a better coordination, right from the beginning, right from the onset. Yes, it's possible, and yes, we can develop and issue some sort of guidance on that.
Yeah.
We do it so often. You know, we have so many projects on the go. When we talk about refits, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let's blue sky time, long range forecast. What are your thoughts on the future of our industry, Engel? Where are we heading?
Where are we heading in the future? If I look, I try to look 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Of course, we will still be, you know, many of the amazing yachts who now ply the seas will still be with us. Fantastic ships with fantastic crews on board. But if you then look at the novel type of ships, which will yachts who will start flying the seas, yes, there will be more carbon conscious CC, if you want to call it that way. But I also believe there'll be so much more automation, which might even, and that's not a pleasant, perhaps not too pleasant news to hear, is that they might even be able to sail around with a reduced crew.
Yeah.
Of course, not in terms of entertainment, because you know the guests will need to be entertained, and to be entertained by a robot or by a real life person is a world of a difference. But in terms of operating the ship, that might well be possible. There'll be so much more interconnectivity. There already is. It's just making better use of it, better use of the data, better use of the of the availability of data. It's possible. You know, we're already building digital twins. We're already building 3D model, doing 3D plan approval. We're even looking at automated approvals. So all these things are, you know, will have an impact. And you can imagine, you know, a yacht, if they're looking at automated cars, fully autonomous cars. In fact, we are already working with autonomous ships. We've done the pilots. We've even proven that you can have an autonomous tug approaching a ship, getting a hold of the towing lines. It's just unbelievable what is possible. Of course, you can't have a yacht without persons on board. It'd be impossible. But it'll be different. It will definitely be different. And as long as we're not afraid of this difference, as long as we're not afraid of these changes, as long as that we embrace them and make it better, particularly for those on board, yeah, it's a bright future. You know, we still see the market growing. At least I still see the market growing, and I'm pretty sure that it will continue to grow, unless, of course, the riches of this world will start exploring Mars with Mars rovers. Or possible.
What's your class rules for
that? Don't have them yet. Watch your space.
That's not blue sky. That's black sky.
Yes.
Listen, Engel, I think the other thing I want to just ask you about is, and this is let's say a tongue-in-cheek question. Do you think we're going too far with complexity? That we will make things so complex and so expensive when it doesn't really need to be?
It's a transition you have to go through.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to make the complex things simple.
Yeah.
Really, because life is complex. And it is increasingly complex. So, like I said, because of the overload of data and opinions again, and it is within that mayhem that we need to simplify things and make sure that we keep our feet on the ground and analyze the complex data, analyze the complex opinions, understand sometimes the politics and the economics behind it, but make sure that we stay with 2 feet on the ground. And then from our perspective, of course, that is most important when we talk about safety and quality. I mean, we'll keep on hammering on about this, and I know we're not always being appreciated for it. I know, but that's what differentiates us, and we will keep on doing that.
Okay, and a final comment, Engel, before we finish is, if you could give the industry one piece of advice from Lloyd's or from you personally, from your experience, what would it be? The biggest nugget you can share of advice.
Yeah, I come back to what I said earlier. I say get organized, please, for the benefit of us all, and not just from a classification or a statutory point of view, but please get organized. This is this is a very serious professional industry. I know it's an industry of entertainment, fully understand. That's what it is. But yeah, it's a very professional industry. And we're dealing with people's lives, we're dealing with the environment. So get organized in a professional manner by working together.
The world of collaboration.
The world, yes, of collaboration. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting subject and one that we have discussed many times. And I hope that this becomes a very, I would say this is a key debate we need to explore even further, because obviously when you look at all the different stakeholders, the different supply chains and the different subcontractors, even talking to them, you hear that they're almost brought into the round table too late. And I feel this is some of the things we need to look at as an industry, how we do work together and at what stages people are brought in, because we can't bring people in too late. That's been part of the problem in the past. Yeah, I feel it still happens.
And there are too many.
Too many partners or intermediaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my opinion, there are. There's too many single bands. There's too many small companies. I've got nothing against them, provided they're able to provide the right, correct, professional service which the industry deserves. And unfortunately, despite at times the ability of a single individual, it doesn't really help.
Right.
And I'm not saying that large companies have the solution, because large companies have their flaws as well. I'm fully aware of it.
Yeah.
But by working more professional together, and I think I'm pretty sure that with all those clever persons walking around, sometimes having their own individual companies, surely they should be able to merge into something a bit more cohesive, stronger, better organized, greater global coverage, potentially giving the confidence to the owners and the managers that they're able to do the job properly.
Yeah. Interesting. Good. I really like that angle. That's a really good thing to finish on. Thank you very much for your time. I really enjoyed the topics, and let's hope the sailboat market comes back as well, because I feel that's something we're both passionate about.
Oh well, absolutely. I mean, we introduced the rigging, the sails and rigging requirements last year. For the purpose of that, I see that market as a great potential, and our guys love climbing up in the masts and carrying out all the surveys. So, no, absolutely, I fully agree with that, and it is a lovely experience. Let's be honest about it. Sailing the seas on a sailing yacht, just using the wind, feeling the wind and hearing the water is unique. Makes this industry wonderful.
Absolutely. Engel, thanks a million for your time, and we'll see each other again soon, I hope.
I hope so too. Thank you as well, Martin. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.